So, what's your favorite thing about the Catholic Church?
My favorite thing about the Catholic Church is the Mass. I love the feeling of community you get when you're there and you're receiving the Eucharist. I just feel like there's a whole community and group when you're at church with.
My favorite thing about the Catholic Church is that you have the knowledge that your best friend is with you all the time, which is Jesus. And
The sense of community gives you a purpose. It gives you friends with like minds.
and that you're always being watched over by God and helped out in anything.
Well, I think my favorite part about the Catholic Church is just the fact that it brings so many people to God.
All I can think about is childhood memories of playing with friends in the church pews or stuff like that.
Just that after you die, you're not just gonna die, you're actually gonna get to go to heaven with your Father. And
Okay, so what have your doubts been, or what's been hard for you to accept about the church?
Well, I'd say among my doubts would be even sometimes even the existence of God.
I agree with the church's opinion on gay marriage. I believe that love is between two humans, not just men and women. So I find that hard to accept as a Catholic.
I don't really know how I feel about hell because I don't believe that such a damnation is part of a perfect God, and I really believe that God is perfect like that.
You're always confronted with atheists and a culture, especially in the United States, a culture that's so anti-religious that sometimes you feel alone, sometimes you feel abandoned. But the Psalms, yes. But my mind always goes back to the one of my favorite Psalms. Lord, Lord, why have you abandoned me? And it's nice to know that for thousands of years, even the most religious and devout and pious priests have had doubts.
during Mass, I can usually not pay attention very much.
I've learned a lot in history class this year, and it's made me sort of doubt the amount of, I guess, bad that's also come out of such like a political nature of the church.
So, when you're doubting and you're like not really sure what you believe, what brings you back and makes you want to stay part of the Catholic Church?
The fact that there's like some greater power above me, that's what interests me and keeps pulling me back to my faith.
Even though I have doubts sometimes, I'd say that there's always a calling back to the church. Every Sunday you're required to go to Mass. Parents keep you in the church. But even beyond, having that intimacy with the church, the sense of community, that I think that's probably what always keeps me back, even in times of trial of faith.
I feel like even if you don't agree with religion completely, the fact that you're like continuing and you're in a habit of going to Mass and you're going and you're devoting part of your day to something spiritual, even if you're not there exactly for the Mass, but you're there to get closer to God, it's definitely a big thing, and I do believe in the Eucharist. I feel like being able to receive that every weekend is great. And
There have been times when I feel so alone and I feel like maybe there's no one to talk to, but then I'm like, no, I have this great God who's going to listen to whatever I say and is going to comfort me no matter what my problems are.
So when I first decided to do this video, I wasn't sure if I was going to interview myself as well. But in the end, I decided it wasn't fair to ask everybody else the hard questions and then just sit back and edit. So I guess I would have to say my favorite thing about the Catholic Church is the Eucharist. I really feel a connection with Jesus. It's just when I receive the Eucharist, I feel full and happy, and just it takes away that hole, I guess, that sometimes is what I feel like is just missing in my life. Probably the hardest thing for me and my biggest doubt and fear is confession, because it just makes me really nervous, and it's really, really hard for me. I think part of that comes from the fact that I'm already a person who's just always beating myself up, always hard on myself. So that's whenever I'm reflecting on that, it's tough for me. What always brings me back is the Eucharist. I just don't feel whole, I don't feel myself without it, and I just can't live without it. So I don't think I could ever leave the church for that. Just by nature, I always am the person who wants to know why, and that's sometimes good and sometimes bad for my faith. I feel like having all these doubts has really just driven me to explore my faith more, and it's been a really good thing. So I guess if you're struggling, if you have a lot of doubts, then that can be a good thing. And don't feel like to come home to the church that you have to have everything figured out already, because it's just not true. You can come home and just figure things out here. So I guess that'd be my message to anyone that's been away.